Hey, welcome to Never Enough Time. Today we are outside doing a watch review. It's what we try to do on this channel. I know I do some in the office, and when weather gets so bad, I'll likely do that. But we have a little bit of rain, a little bit of ice. That doesn't stop us. That's perfect watch review weather. Today we're taking a look at a very budget-oriented, I mean, this is the budget of the budget of the budget. The Casio World Time, some call it the Casio Royale. Casio 3299AE1200WH or something like that. I'll annotate the correct version. If you're new to this channel, I look for value for money watches, and that can be anywhere from 30 bucks like we're looking at today up to 30,000. My reviews typically are in the sub 1,000. I've done a few higher than that, but really concentrating my time on this. So if you got a few minutes, let's see if this watch, if a $30 watch has a place in your collection. Let's go.
So if you ain't got nothing better to do, let's waste some time.
But you have a very square watch. This is 40 millimeters if I measure it across the case between the pushers, 44 millimeters if I go the pusher to pusher. You have an 18 millimeter lug width, and it's kind of a different sort of bracelet, so it makes it a little bit tough if you want to put straps in and out, because they do flare the bracelet out to match the case. But the lug width here is just 18 millimeters, 12.5 mil thick, 100 meters of water resistance. You have a resin or plastic case here that is painted silver. That is not metal as far as I can tell and have read. The bracelet is metal, folded links, basic clasp with 4 micro adjusts, and a very basic, your cheap pressed clasp there. So nothing terribly spectacular, but again, you're talking about a $30 watch, and you shouldn't be expecting, right, the kind of luxurious metal bracelet. So for $30, actually the bracelet isn't bad. The bracelet standpoint though, right, you get that very shaking, jingly sound like you could play an instrument in a high school band or choir just using the bracelet from this Casio watch. But up here in the corner of the watch, you have what I call the analog time. I mean, it's a digital readout, but there's an hour and minute hand there, if you can see that right there. And then there's a second hand that blinks around the dial as a second hand. And so it gives the illusion of being functional or kind of high tech. It's completely unreadable, and it's really, I think, for aesthetic. Same with the world map over here. As you switch through time zones there, right there you have the central time zone lit up, which is where I am in. If you move through the time zones, it will highlight on this map the time zone. And again, it gives the illusion of some functionality, of some visual interest. But if you're setting world times, you typically know where those are at. And I think you use up some real estate again with not a highly functional thing on the dial. Now, I will say that digital watches, and this Casio World Time to be specific, has a ton of functionality to it. When I buy a watch and try to put it through its paces and try to understand how this watch would fit, should I keep this watch, I try to use it in ways in my life. Let's say I don't have a cell phone, and I really try to rely on the functionality of the watch. And I will say from that standpoint, I've grown kind of fond of this Casio with 5 or 6, I think it's either 5 or 6 different alarm settings. I do a lot of cooking and smoking and long cook type of meals. And so if I'm outside like I am now, or working over there in the garden, and I can set the alarms to remind me to go in and rotate the bird, Thanksgiving's coming up, or different things when you're smoking and barbecuing that you do at different time intervals. It's really nice. I don't carry my cell phone with me everywhere I go. So it's really nice to have a tool on your wrist that lets you know, hey, it's time to do this. Tremendous amount of functionality there. And a lot of things you would typically see on a digital watch, right? A timer, a stopwatch. But for a watch collector who's very interested in GMT and time zones, In fact, the Glycine Airman, right, is about tracking 2 time zones. I think the real functionality here is looking at the time zone. So by just hitting the watch, and maybe you can see the world map light up differently. London time, Paris, Chicago, just a handful that I've set. And so I think from a functional standpoint, my job in the corporate world, I would work with multiple time zones around the globe. And having a watch that you could quickly scan through and go, I'm going to call the Middle East, or I'm going to call India, London, and those kind of things, to be able to quickly see what time it is. And I understand that your cell phone does the same thing. I'm just not the type of guy that always likes to be looking at his cell phone for everything he does. I like interacting with the world around me. That's part of my attraction to watches. And so on this watch, on this Casio, you can interact with the watch, hitting those pusher buttons, and get information that you've programmed into that. So very fond of it from a functionality standpoint. I think it's just a practical, everyday watch that people can find a lot of uses for. In terms of its look and its cost, I'm not a fan, and I might be in the minority here, but there's a ton of writing on the style. I would prefer slightly more sterile. I mean, you have Casio, you have World Time, you have 10-year battery. I forgot to mention that, by the way. 10-year battery, that's kind of nice. That seems nice to me anyway. Illuminator, which illuminator, it sounds ridiculous even as a word. At the top, you do have the light to get some backlight on there, right? Typical of a digital watch. So while I think it excels with functionality, really, I look at this spot right here. This little rectangle is where 90% of my interaction with this watch goes. And so I either would like a bigger display or somehow make these a tad more functional. But that's kind of nitpicking when you're paying $15 or $30 for a watch. What I would say though, if I'm going to spend $30 for a watch, I'm likely to be wearing the Casio DW5600. That was my gateway drug to watches way a long time ago. Wore that watch every day for years, and actually have it coming back in. I don't have it right now. I'm going to have that in for the channel for review as well. And I think I probably would rather go with that. Now, this watch with the metal and the metal band, it looks good from a distance. It feels ridiculously cheap. I mean, not only the jingle jangle, but the plastic silver thing, or plastic silver case. So if you want this watch and you like the look of it, I think it works. It just is going to feel like you paid $20 for a watch. I mean, it just does. And I think that's fine. But I think I would get the all black resin version and actually put it to use as a hard use watch, let it get beat up a little bit, have it in your watch box to be able to quickly set other watches as you use them. And so for an everyday beater hard use watch, I think this works. With one caveat, again, and this is why I'm getting the Casio DW5600 in, this crystal scratches super easy. It's just, there's nothing protecting it, and it's plastic. So poly watch will have to be your friend. And I think the G-Shocks, at least as I remember them, I used to wear them. I haven't worn digital watches for so long, but the G-Shock had a millimeter or two raised on the edges, so when you set the watch down, you would protect the crystal, or just knocking it into the side of something that would help protect the watch face a bit. This doesn't. This is right out in the open. I'm keeping this watch just because it's so cheap. There's no point in reselling it. Maybe it'll be a gift to a nephew or a niece at some point. My daughter, though, wears the resin version as an everyday watch at college, and I really see that being the strength of this watch. If I was just wanted a grab and go watch for my occupation every day, I think this works just fine. And there's, like I said, a ton of functionality built into it that you can appreciate as a watch connoisseur, or just as someone who's trying to live their life and likes to have something on your wrist assist you in your tasks, which, it's part of what we all are attracted to watches in the first place. So I'm going to cut it off there. It's a mixed bag for me. The last thing, if you're into mods, this watch has a million videos on how to mod watches. And so that's not my thing. But again, if you like taking stuff apart, making it look different, customizing it for your own use, what a cheap way to practice that. I mean, 15 bucks on the resin and $28 with the metal. And that's what I have for today. We're going to head inside. My fingers are actually getting numb. It's about 30 degrees out here. But we enjoy doing them outside. If you like it, feel free to like and subscribe. Make a common man's day by joining the Watch Love Covenant here as we really take anyone who's interested. And if you're interested in watches, hey, you got a spot here. So thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, make my day. We're just having fun. We're just having fun talking about all sorts of watches, from $15 resin, $30 bracelet, up to many multiples of that as this channel evolves. So God bless, and we'll see you on the next one.